looks like I should be unmuted and everything should be going all right so far. Hello, and welcome to the fourth broadcast of Caught in the Third Act. Wave and let me know if you can hear me. I don't see any waving, but I'm hoping that you hear me nonetheless. Anyhow, last time we were working on the character profiles. We have our protagonist, Julia Ann Talbot. We have our antagonist, at least the general outline at this point, Blue Usagi, Blue Rabbit. We have some supporting characters. Mom, Marissa, Julian, Dad, Jacob, her brother, and Steve Bob, the classic pig hostage, thus the nickname. Okay, great. Glad you can hear me. So, we need to work on some more characters, or work on the characters a bit more, make them a little more believable, a little more realistic. And I think we should also start pushing towards a genre for this theme, or a theme for the story. Any ideas of what you would like to see? Miss Legine? 854, blah, 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 blah. I think we'll go with a nice August birth date. Mom nearly had her on her birthday. Okay, so just randomly picked a few things there. Birth dates for them. I don't know why I have language sitting there at language. Did I do that with anybody else? No. Okay, Jacob, you speak French and English. Julian, just English. Marissa, just English. I talked about how I love villains that love being the villain, who are very much aware of their situation and why they're doing things, and are not necessarily out to crush the world, but they're out for some single objective, out to create or cause havoc, or at least to get their way, to have their way. Um, I like that. It gives the character a little more meaning, a little more believability, in my opinion. What should her degree be? I'm thinking something random, but I don't know. Part of me wants to give her one of my past majors, such as computer science or what I actually got my degree in, film analysis. But that's making her a Mary Sue, and she's not a Mary Sue. So, hmm. Associate's degree in philosophy makes her completely useless? Maybe? Yeah, let's go with that, at least for the time being. Because we can always change it, right? Next question. Just because this is seeming a little modern and set in this world doesn't mean it has to be set in this world. After all, this could be set a few hundred years down the road on another planet. Just because, for instance, a great adventure is set with a backdrop of science fiction background, spaceships and so forth, doesn't necessarily make it a science fiction work. So, what do you say? Do we stick with Earth? Or do we go somewhere else? Uh, I'll come back to that. Yeah, Earth is generally really boring, but it's really well known, and we pretty much know everything that's going to be there for some time. Hmm, interesting. I'm going to change up the chat log there. It's coming in a little odd. Da, 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 da. Excuse me one moment. Yeah, that's better. I like it when the chat goes up as opposed to down. Don't ask me why. But yeah, Earth is extremely boring, but it's extremely big for what it is, for us, and it's extremely well known, allows us to really know and document things. And so we can say, hey, it's a they're going to the Grand Canyon and everybody knows what we mean. Or they're going to see the pyramids and most likely they're going to guess the pyramids in Giza. Or they're going to see the Eiffel Tower. Hey, who doesn't want to see the Eiffel Tower? So it's really well known, so it's not a bad thing going with a boring Earth, but otherwise we'd have to literally create everything from scratch. And there's nothing wrong with that either. And in fact, there's nothing saying we won't do that later anyway. Just because a story starts on Earth doesn't mean it's going to end on Earth. I don't know if this is actually a thing, but hey, I'm going with it for now. And sewing. My very good friend, his mother, was actually an artist. I don't know if she was professionally employed ever as an artist, but she could definitely paint the hell out of anything and taught him how to paint, draw, sculpt, pretty much everything. And she was her own businesswoman as well. She ran several businesses in Detroit, at least at the time that I met him and her. So she was an amazing woman. And strangely enough, she died almost exactly 20 years ago. Education for Julian. He went to Harvard. Hmm. I'm feeling that she's probably a Midwestern girl. I'm thinking Wisconsin, but I don't want to go with Green Bay. I do not like Green Bay. Go Lions. So, I'm going to pick some other random city in Wisconsin. Give me a moment. How about Baraboo? Just a place on a map to me, but hey, I'm going with it. I know we kind of talked about, well, no, we talked about that for the other story I was working on in the first two broadcasts. Where shall this one be set currently, at least? I think Hawaii's too exotic, same with Alaska, too remote. Uh, California, too cliche. Hello, Octavia, welcome back. California is too cliche. New York, a bit cliche as well. The other one was in Oklahoma City. So why don't we do someplace in Missouri as where this family at least settled down. You did offer it, but you did not send it. So we need to get that from you. Columbia, Missouri. That sounds like a nice place. No, links still can't be pasted, I don't believe. But like I said, if you don't mind going to either the caughtinthethirdact.com website and sending me feedback through it, or Twitter, it's CIT 3RD. Hey, I guess it does work. All right, I'll grab that later. Or I'll grab that now. Thank you very much. The Twitter address, and just to finish that out, is CIT3RD Act. So follow that if you like. You can always reach me directly through it. I don't know. People keep pushing Discord, but I don't know if I'm all that interested in it. But maybe. I suppose you could also just send me a private message on Twitch as well. That is always an option. Maybe, but I'm not exactly popular at this point. And I think Steve Bob is going to be a childhood friend. Hey, I'm up to 3. I'm all right. Well, we'll see down the road. I'm not going to make any decisions about what technology I am going to use and what technology I'm not at this point. As the channel grows, maybe I'll go ahead and switch over to using Discord, or maybe I'll or start using Discord and a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know at this point. It's still very, very early, so we'll see. And if you watch the first 2 broadcasts, I think you'll see that a lot has changed in just what I've done so far. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to change everything. Columbia, Missouri is not a skill. It's a place, Raymond. It's a place. If I get the opportunity, my day job actually consumes quite a bit of time, especially thanks to my commute. It takes me on average an hour to get to work and an hour to get back. That's just the drive. It's not even that far. But that is the price you pay for living in the Chicago area. Most evenings, by the time I get home, I just want to fall on the couch and not do anything. And I'm also in the process of kicking up a studying routine. I need to master my Japanese very, very soon. More on that later. Let's see, how far away is St. Louis from Columbia? Probably a decent ways. It looked like Columbia was in the middle of the state. Just checking for curiosity's sake. Yeah, 150, or excuse me, 124 miles. That's a little too long for a commute. So, what about Jefferson City? I think that will work. The offices of Talbot and Talbot are in Jefferson City, Missouri. Looks like I need another field here. So clearly our heroine here did not decide to follow suit into a legal career, nor did she follow her mother into an artistic career. She's at the moment between stages. She doesn't know what she's doing with her life, and thus just making ends meet as a cashier. But I think we need more people here. So let's give her a boss. Jonathan. I was really tempted to just name him after a couple of friends of mine. Both named Jonathan, actually. Haven't talked to either one face to face in years. But I don't think I'm going to go that way. At least not completely. Let's make him roughly in his 60s or so. And no, this isn't me either. Or, okay, so it is a little me, but not really. I'm not putting myself in. I'm not doing any Mary Sue's here. Never really wanted to own a bookstore, but I think it would be interesting. There, Jonathan H. Tarhill. I don't know what the H stands for at this point. Maybe Henry, maybe Hune. Not sure. But nonetheless, uh, tall, dark, reasonably handsome, needs to lay off the butter, and speaks Latin and English. I never learned Latin, though that would be a interesting language to learn, I think. I know a few words, but don't get me started. I don't know what his other interests are besides books and writing. Maybe he likes math too. Maybe. He likes doing his taxes. That's a skill. I'm going to assume that there's not just two people who work in the bookstore. So we'll add another character. Kind of feeling a Latin character here, Latino. And I think I know a last name. I'll have to confirm that it's Hispanic, but I'm fairly sure that Garza is. If not, I'll change that later. Not for any particular reason. So it looks like our story is going to start at least in Jefferson City, Missouri. So while we're between broadcasts, I'll definitely be looking at maps and other things about Jefferson City to get to know it a bit better. I've never been there. Probably been by it. I've driven across the country a few times, both as an adult and a kid, so I've probably been by or possibly even through Jefferson City at least once or twice. Yeah, off the 44. Well, not that far from the I-44. I've definitely been by it. Political affiliations. Let's see, what about you, Steve? What are you up to? Hmm, I think he likes history, especially Civil War era history. Jacob, Jacob. Well, Michigan State was an agricultural school, so I guess knowing something about agriculture is a good thing to know. Although how that's an interest is anybody's guess. I would think that, in particular, he's probably more interested in particular types of trees and crops and so forth, as opposed to necessarily uh, actively trying to grow them. Though, he might have a little small garden of his own. Energy crops. have a raging liberal, moderate, couple of anarchists. Why not a moderate conservative? Let's see. I can type today, really, honest, I can. Yeah, I don't know much about Marissa's mom yet. Do you have any ideas, Octavia? Okay, maybe no one. No one has any ideas because no one is watching. Ah! Well, in that case, I'm going to take a little break here. If you're interested in supporting this broadcast, you may do so in several ways. You may make a donation via PayPal at the address shown. You may send Bitcoin to this address. Finally, I am an independent agent for Stream Energy, which offers energy services in 8 states and the District of Columbia, wireless service in 49 states, and a whole host of protective services. Stream offers services that you already use and need. The difference is you'd be buying these as a customer of mine rather than from a faceless corporation. In fact, you too can become an independent agent and become your own boss. For more information and to sign up as a Stream customer or independent agent, visit the address on your screen. Thank you. Okay. Now that we're back, sort of, I think I will go ahead and start discussing where I'd like to go with the story. I think what I will do is make this a science fiction story that starts on Earth at least. May not end up there. May go across the world, across the universe, into another dimension. Don't know yet. But I think I will go with science fiction here, even though that's something I prefer to write and it's one of my comfort zones. And while I'm trying to get out of my comfort zones here, I don't have exactly a whole lot of input at the moment, so at least for the time being, we will go with something I do feel comfortable in. I think that this will be set near future, probably in the next 20 to 30 years. Not next year or within the current political climate in this world and in this country, which is toxic to say the least. But 30 or 40 years down the road ought to do it. And that lets me start thinking about other things. What is going to be the theme of the story, or what is the overall plot? Within the current climate, and probably for the foreseeable future, there's always your typical cliche threat of world-ending disaster, particularly from weapons of mass destruction. And if we're going to have a villain, I suppose that it's probably best to have one that's not going to be dealing with uh, a natural disaster like a tidal wave or asteroid hitting the planet or something along those lines. So perhaps our villain is actually misguided in terms of how she's going to approach things. I think maybe what our villain is trying to do is to make the world a better place, just going about it the wrong way. So let's say our blue Usagi here is some kind of personal or environmental slash anti-nuclear crusader who is sabotaging nuclear power plants somehow and nuclear weapons. Yeah, kind of like that. And of course, there's always some new big weapon. So either nukes will be the MacGuffin, or possibly some new weapon that's coming onto the scene that I'll invent later. Like I said, there's always something. Wonder why my nice little chat window has disappeared or emptied. Oh well. More things to work out. There's always a new bug to fix in this lovely system. And maybe that's because it's still new, because I'm still figuring everything out and trying to get everything to work properly. But we'll see. And incidentally, I spoke with some of the Restream people about why the YouTube chat isn't working, isn't getting integrated, and they said it should be working. Yay! But it's obviously not, so if you see me start broadcasting suddenly for no apparent reason and not really doing anything, just ignore it. So, if that's what our villain is actually up to, how does a bookstore cashier actually get involved? Well, the easiest path is that our Blue Usagi happens to go to Jefferson City to try to take out a nuclear silo that's there. That's the easiest path. Maybe that's what I'll stick with, but we'll see. So much to think about so far. a lot more to go. It's still early, way early. And ultimately that motive may still change. So I'm going to open up a new document here. I'm going to go over Octavia's outline a little later, and I may translate some of this over to it. But at least for the time being, and I don't need to worry about saving that. Not right now, not on stream, but it's a little too late. You've seen all my secrets. uh, Not that I know that there are any nuclear silos at all in Jefferson City or its whereabouts, but typically the military, the U.S. military, scattered them across the Midwest, West Coast, East Coast, and if there's a likely place to have some, there's going to be it's going to be out away from the major cities in most of the states. And Jefferson City is remote enough that I think it probably would be a good candidate for a location for a silo. And anyway, it's my world or our world, and I get to make the rules. So in this particular world, there is a silo in Jefferson City or near it. No one recognizes it for what it is, but that's what it is. Let's see. Wow, I can type today. These are just notes for the time being. I'll probably translate these into either Octavia's document or my own format and make them available. But at least for the time being, this is just going to sit on my drive to remind me and to remind you of what we're working with. Alright, at least we have something now. And we will add more later. Although it doesn't seem like an hour's gone by, we're almost exactly at an hour at this point. Okay, a few minutes shy. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this broadcast for today, and I'll be back again in 2 weeks, which will be April 21st. So I will see you then. Take care.